Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir wa tammim bil khair. We are discussing with Mu'tallul Lam, which is called Naqis. And in Naqis, yesterday or in the previous lesson, we discussed about Naqis Wawi, which is Da'a Yad'u, and the changes. So let's have a quick review of Naqis Wawi first, and then inshallah, we are going to start Naqis Ya'i. So the first rule that is very common, when Waw is mutaharrik and there is Fatha before it, it changes into Alif. And the example that we discussed is Qawala. In Qawala, Waw is mutaharrik and there is Fatha before it, so it changes into Alif and it becomes Qala. That rule is like we have learned it and we discussed it many times. The second rule is when two weak letters come together, then the one that is the part of the construction, that one will be dropped. So the one that is the part of the construction, that one, the one that is the part of the root letter will be dropped, and the one that is the part of the construction will not be dropped. So when two root letters come together, two weak letters come together, and one of them, which is the part of the root letter, and the other is the part of the construction, then the one that is the part of the root letter will be dropped. And the third rule was when Waw has Dhamma and there is a Dhamma before it, it becomes Sakin. When Waw has Dhamma and there is a Dhamma before it, it becomes Sakin. And these are the rules we discussed yesterday. And after we implemented the rules for the past, we got this one. We got the past tense, da'a, da'awa, da'aw, da'at, da'ata, da'awna, da'awta, da'awtuma, da'awtum, da'awti, da'awtuma, da'awtunna, da'awtu, and da'awna. And the ones that are colored, da'a, da'aw, and da'at, that means changes took place only in these three forms of the of this bab, and the rest are the same, and there were no changes that took place. Now it's up to you. You have two ways. Number one, you can memorize the conjugation of da'a, and based on this, all the verbs that come on this pattern, you can interpret as it is. For example, it will be the same pattern. Or as we discussed yesterday, but in the previous lesson, that we discussed the changes, like how the changes took place. And if you know that how the changes took place, that is the best way. It will not confuse you and you will be more confident. Then in the present tense, we discussed that after the changes, and then in the present tense, basically three changes took place, as we know, because we will not treat one change as two changes. One change will be considered as one change. For example, yad'u is one change, and that change is applicable to tad'u, tad'u, ad'u, and nad'u. So it was basically yad'u, as you know. And after the changes, and the change as we discussed today, when Waw is Sakin, when Waw has Dhamma, and then there is Dhamma before it, then Waw becomes Sakin. So if this change is used for this one, then it will be used for five forms of the verb. So it will be used for yad'u, tad'u, tad'u, ad'u, and nad'u. So we will not say that five changes have taken place. We will say that only one change has taken place. Then yad'uwani, no change has taken place. And in yad'uwuna, there was Waw here with Dhamma, and then there is another Waw. Now we can see here that two weak letters are together, and the one that is the part of the root letter will be dropped. So when we drop Waw, it remains as yad'una. So if we have yad'una, then we should have tad'una as well, because these two will be similar. So hum yad'una and antum tad'una. So if it is the same for masculine, third person, it will be the same for masculine second person. And if for the feminine, it is also yad'una, no change has taken place. And for the feminine, second person is also tad'una. And this is only a rare occasion where the present, where the masculine and the feminine plural are the same. They are the same. However, we know that for the masculine plural, there was a change, but for the feminine plural, no change has taken place. However, if you look at it, yad'una, yad'una, tad'una, tad'una, they are the same. So this is easy to memorize, by the way. And then here, it was tad'una, as you know, and then first waw dropped, and then we have to bring in kasra because kasra is compatible with ya, and it has become tad'ina. So these changes yesterday we discussed. This is just a review. And now we will say, let's see how and what kind of changes take place when we make it majzoom. Okay, do you remember any harf that gives them jazm or makes it majzoom? Do you know harf? There are three for jazm that makes it sakin. Lam.
Lam.
Lamma and la an-nahiya, right? Lam, lamma, and la an-nahiya. So they make the ending of the mudari majzoom. Okay. So now we can see here, when we put lam before it, then what happens? We know that the ending becomes majzoom, yani the ending gets dropped. So when we drop the ending, it becomes lam yad'u. Before it was lam yad'u, it was longer. We prolong it for 2 seconds. But when we make it majzoom, then it becomes lam yad'u, and it's only for 1 second. So if we implement this change for one, as we know that 5 of them, all 5 of them, they are the same. So it will be same change that will take place over here, and the same change will take place over here, and the same change will take place over here, and the same change will take place over here. And what change will take place? Can you please tell me? The waw will be dropped. The waw will be dropped. And why it will be dropped? Because of lam. So it becomes lam tad'u, and also lam tad'u, and lam ad'u, and lam nad'u. So 5 of them are clear, and we know the 5 that have dhamma in the end, they have the similar rule. So if we are able to implement the rule for one of them, then we are good to implement it for all the rest of the 4 forms. So the first 5 forms are the clear.
Ustad, this is like the same thing. If we are dropping the waw, it is replaced by dhamma, something like that, or
no?
There's
It's
another.
It's very simple.
One word is deleted, we replace that by dhamma, something like that. Where does that come, Ustad?
Yeah, that will come later.
Okay.
But this one here.
This one is here, the extra, this thing, the second one is getting removed.
It's very simple. We know that when we use lam, the lam makes the ending majzoom. Yani the ending gets dropped.
Yeah. And that
when the ending gets dropped, what is left over here is lam yad'u, lam tad'u, lam tad'u, lam ad'u. And
so this is the only bab where it will not end with a sakin or something, and it will end with the dhamma.
That's right. It will end with dhamma only.
Okay.
So before there was an extra waw that was the part of the construction, but we know that because of lam, the ending becomes jazim or majzoom. The ending, the last letter gets dropped. So when we drop the last letter, it becomes lam nad'u. Okay, what happens with the verbs that have noon in the end? Do you remember?
The noon will get dropped.
Excellent. So that's very simple. So these are all for the dual. So for the dual, there are 4 forms that are used for the dual. So if the change takes place with one, it will take place with all of them. So the noon gets dropped. So it becomes lam yad'uwa, and then lam tad'uwa, and then lam tad'uwa, and then lam tad'uwa. So the noon gets dropped.
It happens with 5 verbs, no Ustad. So down also it will.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah, we call them 5. So basically, these are 3. These 3 are the same. So from these three, we will take only one, or the grammarians, they took only one because they are the same. Okay. So they call them al-af'al al-khamsatu. Why they call them five? Because this is number one, because it starts with ya. So this is number one. And from these three, they took only one. So they become two. And then we have three here. So they become five. Yeah. So yad'una here, lam, and then we have again the use of lam, and then again lam. So here the noon gets dropped, we know, but when we use lam, the noon gets dropped, and here it will also get dropped as well. So lam yad'u, lam tad'u, and lam tad'i. And this is, we know that it is anti lam tad'i. You didn't call, or you didn't pray. Okay. So why they call them al-af'al al-khamsatu? Now 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Because these three are the same, so they took only one, which makes sense. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's why they call them al-af'alu al-khamsatu. Okay, now these two, they are red. Why they are red?
Mabni Ustad.
They don't change. Yeah, either you use lam or harfilan, whatever you change with them, they will not change. They will remain as they are.
Niswa is
very strong. Yeah, they said that the
dominating.
Al-Mudari was getting disturbed and getting beaten by lam and lan, but when An-Nun and Niswa came, it made it stable. So now it is stable. Nothing can be done to this. Alhamdulillah. Okay, I can see like there are only 4 people over there now. So it's either because of al-huruf, what do you call them? Weak letters. Al-naqisa, or it's because of the cricket matches, or it is. This is how, by the way, this is how it happens, and this is very unfortunate. People, they say we want to do something. Yes, you want to do something and you do something. These two things are different. We want many things.
We really don't know if they are just caught in the care.
Yeah, there are many things in our lives
they are doing, but we never know.
There are many things in our lives that we want, but how many things we are serious about and how many things that we want to achieve. And we have to remember one verse of the Quran, Laysa lil insani illa ma sa'a. We will not get anything
unless we strive for.
Yeah, unless we strive for. So I've seen many people, they started the journey very excited. We want to learn Arabic language, but there are millions of examples that the people gave up in the middle, which is only and only the success of shaitan. He will be celebrating when we stop learning Quran. When a person starts learning Quran, that is the heaviest thing and the worst thing that can happen to shaitan. And when a person stops doing that, he will be excited and he will be celebrating. So please, as I told you, 2 things are very, very important. Number 1, always make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make all of us steadfast. And number 2, consistency. These 2 things are the key. If we...
Everyone has the same beginning, but the ending for everyone.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. So, and we have to always make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that our ending must be good. That is
good
very
and
important.
best ending.
Yeah. Good and best ending. Yes. Yes. Okay, so we are clear with lam. Now we take the huruf that make the mudari mansub. First we talked about the verb that make them, or the harf that make it majzoom, and now we take the one that make it mansub. So we have lan. What else?
Lan, an, li, lamutalil.
Okay, so we have harf lan. Okay, and then we have an and lam talil. Okay, and what do they do, by the way?
They make the harf mansub, so it will be yad uwa.
The ending becomes mansub. Yeah, so mansub means it will give fatha to it. Yeah. So
Ustad, I wanted to ask one thing. This lamu talil, just because it makes a verb from marfu to mansub, that's why it changes this thing. So that's why it's called talil.
Yeah, talil means reason, or lamu talil, as
the change which makes from the marfu stage to the mansub.
Mansub, yeah. That's why we call this talilat. Talilat means the changes that take place inside the mudari. And the changes don't take place for no reason, they change for some reason, right? And that's why we call them ta'lilat. So when we use harf lan, then you know what happens? The ending becomes mansoob. So it will be lan yad'uwa. And if you are able to implement change to one, then it will be implemented to the first five. So it will be lan tad'uwa, lan tad'uwa, lan ad'uwa, and lan nad'uwa. Okay, and then when we look at the rest of the forms of the verb, the change will be similar, and that changes that the noon will be
Dropping
dropped.
of the noon.
The noon will be dropped. So we have to drop the noon. So
Yeah, this
I
will be
have
understood
dropped this.
only by the word which is preceding it. We can understand that what has happened to the verb.
That's right, yeah. So now when we use lan, harfi lan, then the noon gets dropped here. And similarly, the four of them, the same change takes place. So if we are able to implement change to one, then we are able to implement it to all. And alhamdulillah, I'm trying my best to do it everything one time with you so that you never get confused. Because when I was learning, I was struggling and doing everything by myself. So now I have promised myself that if I'm going to teach, I will teach in a way that at least one time I just show you how to do it. And after that, it's up to you that how much effort you put. So here we have lan yad'uwa, lan tad'uwa, lan tad'uwa, lan tad'uwa. And then lan yad'una will be lan yad'u. And don't forget that alif comes back. With these two forms, alif will come back just to say that some change has taken place. So when the noon gets dropped, then we have to replace it with alif for the plural only. And this one here also.
And only alif that will help us to differentiate between these verbs which are af'al khamsa and the nouns which end with this waw and noon, that will help us to differentiate.
Yeah, this is called alif al-fariqa. And fariqa, the one that makes difference. So
between what and what?
Yeah, between, like it tells us that something, for example, here, if we have lan yad'u and we have lan yad'uwa, so these two here and these two will look like they're same, but here, this is the part of the construction. This alif is sakin. This alif is extra. Yes. So
I thought it was between the nouns also. Sometimes they end with wow and this thing. So I was thinking like.
No, nouns are easy to recognize because you know the nouns. They will always end with meme or with something else, but they will not end with. They will not start with yata, hamza, and noon like the verb. They always start with the mudari. They always start with ya or ta or hamza or noon. So these are that's why they are always different from the noun. So these two will not change, as you know. Lan yad'una and lan tad'una, they will not change because we know they are read, they are mabni. Okay, now these are al-af'al al-khamsa. Can you please tell me why they are al-af'al al-khamsa?
Because the three are on the same scale, that is huma, the three ones are on the same scale. So we take one from that and we take the
rest of the four. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Wallahi, it took me, I don't know how many months to figure out like why they are 5. Because when you count, they are not 5. They are 7, right?
Yeah.
So when you say they are 5, then it becomes like difficult to figure out. So now we know that why they are 5, because we will take only one. So it will be like as if these two do not exist according to the grammarians because they have the same rule as if they don't exist. So that's why we call them al-af'al al-khamsatu. All right, now let's see how to make fi'l al-amr. I want you to clear with Naqis Wawi first, and then we move on to Naqis. Yeah, I want you to clear this first. How do we make fi'l al-amr? Do you remember or you forgot?
Yes, it changes into a second.
First we have to drop the alamat, the ending we have to
mudari.
Yeah, so the first ending has to be sakin. Okay. Then we have to drop alamat al-mudari. Okay, now we have to see if it is readable or not. Is it readable?
No.
No.
No, sir.
So what we have to do now?
We should insert this what is
Hamzat al-Wasl?
Hamzatul Wasl, yeah.
Hamzat al-Wasl. Okay, but
And
what
give the
haraka should we
haraka.
put over there?
The third letter harka we should insert to it.
So what should we put? Dhamma or kasra?
We should, if it is a dhamma, then that's the strongest one. So we should insert a dhamma.
Yeah, so two reasons you would be able to know that why we have to put dhamma. The first reason is if you see dhamma here, then it's easy to say that we have to put dhamma over there. That's number one. But the real reason is that it's from Bab Nasara Yansuru. So when only from Bab Nasara Yansuru, we put dhamma, and for the rest of the abwab, we put kasra.
Kasra.
So this is a universal rule that for only for Bab Nasara Yansuru, we put dhamma, or the rest we put kasra. However, the easiest way is to figure out is if you see dhamma here, then put dhamma, otherwise put kasra. Okay, so here, as we know, we have to drop the ending. So the noon gets dropped. Then we have to drop alamat al-mudari, and then we have to add Hamzat al-Wasl with dhamma. So if we put one with dhamma, then all of them will be dhamma. So ud'u, ud'uwa, and then also it will be ud'u. So here we have to put and ud'u, and please don't forget that when the noon gets dropped for the plural form, then it is replaced with alif. Yeah, ud'u, ud'u. So ud'u, ud'uwa, ud'u. And then for the feminine, of course, we have to drop the noon first. And then when we have to drop alamat al-mudari, and we have to put alif with dhamma, so it will be ud'i. So you tell your sister, indama tadhabina ila Makkah, ud'i li. When you go to Makkah, pray for me. Ud'i li. And when you say this to your brother or your father or your husband, so you say, ud'u li, you pray for me. Okay, then the dual, if we have ud'u here, so the dual will be the same here. Noon gets dropped, and then we also drop alamat al-mudari. We put Hamzat al-Wasl, and then we put dhamma. And for the feminine, we know that the ending does not change. However, alamat al-mudari will be dropped, and then we have to put Hamzat al-Wasl with dhamma, so it will be ud'una. So ud'u, ud'uwa, ud'u, ud'i, ud'uwa, ud'una. So this is your fi'l al-amr. Again, please practice one time by yourselves, and only one time when you write it with your own hands, inshallah, then you will see a big difference, because when we do it together, it looks easier. And we find it to be like easier, and we think that we can do it easily. But when we try doing ourselves, we sometimes not always find it difficult. So that's the only thing that you have to practice. You have to do it one time by yourselves. Okay, fellow nahi. How do we make fellow nahi?
La tadu. Again, we have to make.
We add, yeah, we put la, and then the ending we make it
bisakin.
Sakin, so it will be la tadu. Yeah, so it will when the ending drops, then you're as you can see, then it's ready. So we put la, and then the ending gets dropped, so it will be la tad'uwa, and then it will be la tad'u. Yeah,
Alif
and alif comes back. Yeah, noon gets dropped, and we replace it with alif. So la tad'uwa, la tad'u. And here for the feminine, again,
noon gets dropped. La
so the noon gets dropped. So whatever is left is la tad'i, and this one will be the same. Both of them will be the same. So it will be la tad'uwa, and then the ending for the feminine does not change, as we know. So it will be la tad'una. You might have noticed, like in Arabic, normally two forms never come together. So this is the rarest form of the Arabic language, and I really noticed it when I started teaching. I never noticed this before. So I noticed when I took the class, and then I was preparing the notes, And then I realized, like, what's that? Yad'una, yad'una, tad'una, tad'una, and then because here changes have taken place and here no changes have taken place and they have become the same. So our naqis wawi is clear now, alhamdulillah. Now you know how to make madi, how to make mudari, how to use lam, how to use harf lan, and how to make amr and how to make nahi. So I hope inshallah it's clear now. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, then we can move on to the second part, which is ajwaf naqis ya'i. So this is clear now, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Okay. So now this is basically what we did yesterday or in the previous lesson, and this is something that is new. Okay, now the rules are the same, by the way. When I say the rules are the same, the first rule is the same that we used for ajwaf. That's the same. The rule will be the same. For example, when ya is mutaharrik and there is fatha before it, then it changes into alif. Okay, you remember this rule? When waw is mutaharrik and it has
waw or ya is mutaharrik.
When waw or ya are mutaharrik and there is fatha before it, they change into alif. So the same rule is going to be implemented in here when we talk about naqis ya'i. The rule number 2 is the same, the standard and the most important rule, that when two weak letters come together, then the one that is the part of the root letter will be dropped. So the one that is the part of the root letter will be dropped. This rule we discussed yesterday and today. Anything that is not clear about these two rules? These two rules are not new, by the way. Both of these two rules are old. So you should be confident that you know these two rules, right? Okay, now we go to naqis ya'i. And when we first, you know that we have to discuss the past, al-madi. So the most important bab that is used for naqis ya'i is daraba yadribu. Daraba yadribu. For naqis wawi, it was nasara yansuru. And for naqis ya'i, the most important one is daraba yadribu. Which one is the most important? Daraba yadribu. However, naqis wawi has only one bab, which is the most important, whereas naqis ya'i has 3. So first we start with the most important, then with the one that is second most important, and then the third one that is the least important. Okay. Now look at the first change as we have discussed here. So here we have daraba, and here the root letters are ha, da, ya. Ha, da, ya. Okay. So when we put them together, they are equal to daraba, ha, da, ya. They are equal. But you know that when we have a weak root letter, then some changes take place. Now, what change is going to take place? If ya has fatha and there is a fatha before it, or when ya is mutaharrik and there is a fatha before it, it changes into alif. Okay, so in this case, it will change into standing fatha. But you might have noticed, like in Arabic, normally we don't find standing fatha. So what the Arabs do, they put fatha, and after that they put alif maqsura. So this is called alif maqsura. What is the difference between alif maqsura and ya? What is the difference between these two? Okay, I will give you an example.
Alif maqsura always the preceding letter will have a fatha, whereas ya is the usual ya ustad. Yeah, it will have dots as well.
Even an easy thing I should tell you. For example, when we talk about alif
compatible with kasra.
Okay, good. I will give you even something easier, very easier. Okay, so this is ala, right? This is ala. So here, ala, here, and look at the next word, and you will find it to be, inshallah, very easy, and the difference will be very clear to you now, and you will never be confused. And then this is, we have Ali, and we have Yun, Ali, Yun, Ali. Okay, so the difference between alif maqsura and ya is that Alif maqsura never takes nuqtatain. It doesn't take 2 dots. Whereas ya always takes 2 dots. So what differentiates between alif maqsura and between ya?
Alif Maksura always precedes, the fatha will precede it.
Fatha will be always there, and that's number one. And number two, the most important thing that we need to notice is the difference of 2 dots. So alif maqsura will never ever take dots, whereas ya always takes 2 dots. So this is basically Aliyun, you know the name of Ali radiallahu anhu, or the name of any person. So this is ala, this is a preposition, you know that, right? Ala. So ala means on, and so this is, we will read it as alif maqsura, so we say ala, whereas this one is aliyun, aliyun. So this is ya, and why this is ya? Because it has 2 dots.
2 dots.
So this is the biggest difference. When you don't see 2 dots, read it as alif, and when you see 2 dots, then you read it as ya. Okay, so now we have here, so this one is ya. Okay, this one is ya, but this is not ya, this is alif maqsura. And why do we say that this is ya and this is alif maqsura? Why?
Because of nuqtatain.
Yeah, because of 2 dots. Excellent. So this one, so we have discussed now that when ya is mutaharrik and there is fatha before it, it changes into alif. So basically how the Arabs write it, here it will be standing fatha, and after that they will put alif maqsura. So this is the only difference, how the difference between da'a and hada. In da'a, you might have noticed that we put alif over there. In da'a, we put alif over there. But in hada, we don't put alif, we put alif maqsura. So that is the difference between these two. And this is how we differentiate between these two. But both of them will be read in the same way. Da'a and hada, both of them will be prolonged for 2 seconds. Da'a and hada. However, the difference is clear, that this one, hada will be written with alif maqsura, whereas da'a will be written with the normal alif, which is the real alif by itself. Okay, so the first change will take place over here, and the first change is, here we have daraba and here we have hadaya. So in the first thing that we do, as you know, that we always use the original form and then we change it. So daraba and hadaya, they are equal, as you can see here. However, when ya is mutaharrik and there is fatha before it, then ya changes into alif.
Yes.
In this case, it will change into alif maqsura.
Maqsura.
So this one becomes hada. So the first change is clear now. And basically, this is the same change that took place for da'a. Naqis wawi, it's the same change.
Yes.
The same change will take place, okay? The second one, no change will take place. So second one will be hadaya. And the third one, now inshallah, you will tell me which change has to take place over here.
Hadau. So it will be the ya with the dhamma will be dropped, Ustad.
La, first, we have here, this is weak.
Hadau.
This is weak letter number 1, and this is weak letter number 2. Okay. When we have 2 weak letters, which one has to be dropped?
Ya will be dropped. Ustad,
Starting.
and
The
it
one
will
that
transfer
is the one that is the part of the
the root letter.
letter. Okay, that's the part of the root letter. Okay, that's
I
number
said
1.
hadau, correct?
Yeah, but the thing is now, one more thing that we need to see. What is compatible with wow?
Dhamma. So
Dhamma. So we have to put dhamma over here.
hadu.
Hadu, yes. So it will be hada, hadaya, hadu. So it has become the same, by the way. Da, da'awa, da'u. Hada, hadaya, hadu.
But I remember reading that as da'au. Just check.
Please don't, yeah, there are like, those changes will take place when we talk about the passive. But we are not discussing about the passive.
In da'a only I saw da'au. Just check. Is it, we read it with fatha or dhamma, Ustad? The da'a, it is da'au.
Hada, hadaya, hadau, sorry, yeah, sorry. No, there no change has to take place, yes. And that's what I was saying. So it will be hada, hadaya, hadau. we don't need to change it because there is no need to change, because what happened over there, the sakin has been dropped, the weak letter has been dropped, and no change takes place. So it will be hadau. Hada,
Yes,
hadaya, hadau. Okay. Okay, so we are going to remove this one. I hope there is no confusion, right?
Yes, just dropping the one of the root letters will give you the rest of the
Yeah,
letters.
yeah. So hada, hadaya, hadau. And here we have darabat, and here we have hadayat. But you remember what change will take place over here?
Where Ustad?
Here, the fourth one.
Okay.
What change will
Here,
take place in the fourth one?
yeah, this ya will also.
So the first has been changed, or we have changed the first one. Okay. Yes, and then the third one has changed. Yeah.
Hadat.
Hadat. Excellent. You figured it out. Yeah. It will be hadat.
Yeah,
but why?
Ya will get dropped.
But
Yeah.
why ya has to be dropped?
Because the ya is preceded by a fatha.
Yeah, the thing is,
And it,
ya, when
yeah,
there
the
is
ya is preceded with a fatha, so it will change into alif. So the alif
very
sakin.
good. Yeah, so when we change it into alif, it becomes hadat. Okay.
Hadat.
When it becomes hadat, we know
Yes.
we have
And
iltiqa
then two
sakinain,
sakins.
and we have to drop the
weak letter
weak
gets
letter.
dropped.
So then
drop
it
the alif.
becomes hadat. Okay, hadat. This is the real way. The other way is you can memorize it like this: hada, hadaya, hadau, hadat, and then the train continues like that. That's it. The train here, from here, the train will continue. So this is the third change that takes place over here. It becomes hadat,
Hadat.
and hadata, and hadaina. Hadaita, hadaituma, hadaitum, hadaiti, hadaituma, hadaitunna, hadaitu, and hadaina. So this is the same change, and the conjugation is the same as the a. So if you are able to memorize one for the a, you have to implement the same rules, and the same conjugation will be used over here. So it will be hada, hadaya, hadau, hadat, hadata, hadaina. Hadaita, hadaituma, hadaitum, hadaiti, hadaituma, hadaitunna, hadaitu, and hadaina. Okay, so the first change is that this one changes into alif maqsura, whereas the a doesn't change into alif maqsura, it changes into the regular alif. So this is the difference between these two. All right, so I think, is it enough, or you want to continue for Mudari as well?
I think because we have started.
Okay, so I think we can complete this.
Because this is complicated, and again it requires half an hour again too.
Okay, no, it's not complicated at all, by the way.
Yeah, it's not complicated, but it requires some common sense.
Yeah, so we have, so then hada is clear, and then we have the mudari is on the pattern of yadribu. So it will be yahdiyu. Yadribu, yahdiyu. Ya, da is sakin, ha is sakin, ra has kasra, dal has kasra, and ba has dhamma, and ya has dhamma. Okay, now the rule for naqis wawi was when waw has dhamma and there is dhamma before it, waw becomes sakin.
Sakin.
For ya'i, the rule is when ya has dhamma and there is kasra before it, then it becomes sakin. So when ya has dhamma and there is kasra before it, then it becomes sakin. That means that the dhamma has to be dropped. Yahdi. So it becomes yahdi, hada yahdi, hada yahdi. If you are able to memorize or practice 2 or 3 of them, baka yabki, hada yahdi, then you will get used to it, and inshallah you will do it so fast that you will not even realize by yourselves. Okay, so now you are clear that why it has changed into yahdi. So from yadrebu it was yahdiyu. So the first was, we always look at the real construction. And then here we have seen that when ya has dhamma and there is kasra before it, then ya becomes sakin, then it becomes yahdi. Okay, so the first change we will implement over here. So it becomes yahdi. Sakin. Okay, if we
apply to the 5 verbs.
If we implement this change to 1, that means 5. We can implement it to 5. So it will be yahdi, and then it will be
Hiya, Anta,
tahdi, yeah, and anta tahdi,
Ana,
and ana ahdi, and nahnu nahdi. So 5 are clear now. Yeah. So if we implement change for one,
Ana,
as we
and
know, then we have to change the, we have to
Nah.
implement it for the 5. Okay, excellent. That's number 1. Number 2, no change takes place. No change
Huwa,
takes
Hiya,
place.
Anta, Ana, and Nahnu.
Yeah. So we have Yahdi, Yahdiyani, and here we have Yahdiyuna. Now here the problem is we have 2 weak letters. We have Ya and we have Waw. Which
Again,
one has to be
yeah.
dropped? The one
Yeah,
that is
with
the part of the
the
root letter. Okay.
root letter.
Yeah. Now
The-
here we have to see
Yes.
that what is
Wow.
compatible with Waw? Kasra or Dhamma?
Dhamma So
So
is
yeah,
compatible.
yeah, Sakin.
So now we have to put Dhamma here.
Do
Yahduna. Over there it was Yad'una, and here it is Yahduna.
Yes.
So if you are able to memorize for Da'a, Yad'u, then most of the changes for the
then
past,
4 forms will change.
the past will be the same. The past will be the same for both Da'a and Hada. Whereas for the Mudari, most of it is the same. There will be small change that I should. So this one is clear now. Okay, now we should know that if we change this one, then we have to change
And the
this one
4
as well.
down itself.
Yeah. For the masculine, if we change,
Tahduna.
yeah, so it will be
Yahduna.
yeah. So if we change one, then this will be automatically changed as well. Okay. Whereas the one that we have for the feminine, there is no change. No change will take place. Why? Because here we have yadribna, ya, ba, ra has kasra, ba, sakin, and noon, and here we have yahdina. And if you look, we have ya, then we have ha is sakin and dad is sakin, ra has kasra, dal has kasra, ba is sakin and ya is sakin, and noon has fatha, and here noon has fatha. That means no change will take place. So for the feminine, no change will take place. So what changes have taken place? Number 1, the change will take place for Yahdi, and then the second change will take place for Yahduna. And we are going to remove this one
And
because we are going to remove this one.
For Antum also the change will take place.
Yeah, because if you remember, if one rule is
Yes.
applicable to 1, even if it is applicable to 5,
Then
we will take it
alternate,
as one rule. Yeah,
it will
we will
apply to
take
the
it as one
alternate.
rule. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, what we have to do. So this is also clear. What we have to see now here is the problem is this one here for tadribina and tahdiyina. Tadribina and tahdiyina. So here the problem is we have
2 years.
2 years, or we have one is the part of the root letter and one is the part of the construction.
Construction.
So one that is the part of the root letter.
The root letter.
Yeah,
The
that will be dropped. Okay, and there is no need to change anything else.
Tahdina.
Tahdina. That's it. So what we have to do, we have to only drop the ya, which is the part of the root letter, and then it becomes tahdina. So tahdina and tahdiyani and tahdina. As we know, for the feminine plural, no change will take place. And then ahdi and nahdi, we have already discussed. So this is ready for you now. Okay, now something here, what is special here? Here something special is that here anti tahdina and then also antunna tahdina, they are equal. This is tahdina and this is tahdina. So here there is also a bit of something interesting that happened over here. If you remember in the ayad'u, 4 of them were equal. If you remember that for the masculine and for the feminine plural and masculine plural, they were the same.
Tad'una,
Yad'una, yad'una, tad'una, tad'una.
Yeah.
And here it is yahdi, yahdiyani, yahduna, tahdi, tahdiyani, yahdina. Tahdi, tahdiyani, tahduna, tahdina, tahdiyani, tahdina. So they both of them.
So anti and antunna has become.
Yeah, so anti tahdina and antunna tahdina. So both of them are the same, ahdi and nahdi. So alhamdulillah, it's clear now. So the 3 changes have taken place.
Found the Nahdi pharmacy here, so that's
that's right. Yeah, that's basically nohdik, yeah. So that's with Dhamma, I think. So Ahdi, I give Hadaya, and Nahdi, we give Hadaya. Of course, Hadaya is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's only because we are practicing it. So that's why we put here Ahdi and Nahdi. So 3 changes will take place, and these are the same changes that took place in the Ayadru, and the same changes. All the changes for the past are similar. In the past, only the root letters have changed, but the pattern remains the same. That was da'a, da'wa, da'u. This is hada, hadaya, hadau. Hadat, hadatata, hadata, hadaina, hadaita, hadaituma, hadaitum, hadaiti, hadaituma, hadaitunna, hadaitu, and hadaina. It's the same as da'a, da'wa, da'u, da'at, da'ata, da'ina. And the second here in the mudari, the first change that has taken place, as we can see here, ya has
Ya
dhamma.
was
Yeah, the ya has dhamma, and before it has kasra. So when ya has dhamma and there is kasra before it, then it becomes
it's less likely to become a
yeah. So if we implement this rule to 1, then it will
5.
be implemented to the 5. So it will be yahdi, tahdi, tahdi, ahdi, and nahdi. So these 5 are clear. And for the dual, no change takes place. Yahdi, yani, tahdi, yani, tahdi, yani, tahdi, yani. And then the change takes place for the plural. For masculine, it was yahdi, yahdiyuna, and it has changed into yahduna. So when we make it yahduna, then this one automatically becomes tahduna. This one, it automatically becomes tahduna. And yahdina and tahdina, they don't change. However, this one here, it was
It is
tahdiina,
tahdiina.
and the ya has been
Ya
dropped
kasra
because,
gets dropped.
2 weak letters, when they come together, then the one that is the part of the root letter that gets dropped. And that's it. Alhamdulillah, so our madar is clear. So now you have the whole weekend. If you want, I can send you some verbs you can practice. The rest, inshallah, is easier, like the use of lam and the use of lan. That is very easy. When you put lam here, the change that will take place, that the ending will become sakin. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, it will be lam yahdi. So if it is implemented to 1, it will be implemented to these 5. So it will be lam yahdi, lam tahdi, lam tahdi, lam ahdi, and lam nahdi. And when we put it with the dual, then you know what happens.
Noon gets dropped.
The noon gets dropped here. So it will be, it's very easy as well, as you can see here. So it will be dropped for all. And here, when we use it with the plural, also the noon gets dropped. So it will be, sorry.
You have to return the alif.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I need to put lam. We need to be careful, yeah. So lam here and also lam here. So what happens? Then the noon gets dropped for all of them. So I'm implementing the change to 1. That means it is implemented to all.
I think we have to return the alif first.
Of course, you're right. So alif
It looks so empty.
Yeah, it looks empty, right? Now you are getting used to it. Yeah, excellent. Whereas here we will only drop it, and that's it. And here, this one gets dropped, and this one gets dropped here, and that's it. So lam yahdi, lam tahdi, lam tahdi, lam ahdi, lam nahdi, lam yahdiya, lam tahdiya, lam tahdiya, lam tahdiya, lam yahdu, lam tahdu. And then we
Lam
have
tahdi
lam
and lam yahdina. Lam tahdina.
Lam tahdina.
Yeah, and these 2, they will not change. And if we implement harfilan here, then you know that it will take fatha, so it becomes lan yahdiya.
Yahdiya.
Yahdiya, okay. So if we put fatha here, that means we will put fatha for all of them. So if we are able to implement change on 1, then it will be implemented to all. So it becomes lan yahdiya, lan tahdiya, lan tahdiya, lan ahdiya, and lan nahdiya. And here, when we put
The same lan, but only the noon gets
Noon
dropped.
gets dropped.
Excellent. So
Lan
let's,
yahdiya.
yahdiya,
Lan
mashallah,
tahdiya.
tahdiya,
Lan tahdiya. Lan
and
tahdiya.
tahdiya, and lan tahdiya. And
Then
then here,
Lan yahdu. Yahdu.
yahdu, and as you remember, we drop it and we
Wow.
replace it with alif, yeah. And then we drop it and we
Lan
replace it with alif.
tahdu.
Lan yahdu, lan tahdu, and then
Lan
lan
tahdi.
tahdi. tahdi, as we know that the noon will be dropped
Anti.
here as well. Yeah, it will be lan tahdi.
And lan yahdina.
Lan yahdina and lan tahdina. Excellent. And inshallah fi'l al-amr and
So confusing, Ustad, but so many complicated things we have to remember and then bring that into like speech is like totally, I feel it totally impossible, Ustad.
No, no, of course not. Allah, it's not. This is the
Because
language of
there's
the
so
Quran.
many things going on, and I really cannot, like, I'm not confident in speaking as well.
You don't? No, no, it takes time. Language, I've been teaching language for 15 years. I myself, I'm not that confident in speaking Arabic and I've been learning for 5 years. And the reason is speaking takes time, especially when you're not forced to do it or when you are not
And when I
used
see
to.
all these changes taking place, I'm really afraid that I will blunder somewhere. And
So what? Who
Yeah.
cares? Don't worry about anything. No one is gonna do anything. Like, look, the only problem that when we face while speaking a language is embarrassment, that we get embarrassed.
Yeah.
We don't need to.
Doesn't
Well,
matter.
I've been teaching Saudi students for 15 years. They are so confident, they don't know, but they will still speak. You're
Yeah.
laughing, but they don't care. And one day I was going with my students, so instead of saying signal, he was saying signal. And he was so confident. And it was like, it's as if nothing has happened. The only problem here in Saudi Arabia is people don't encourage you when you speak Arabic. And they give you the impression like you cannot do it.
Exactly.
But it's not something that's impossible. And we are not doing it for the purpose of speaking or for the purpose of impressing the people. Our target is to be able to understand Quran and Hadith. So inshallah, I'm very sure that when you are reciting the Quran, inshallah, you will be so comfortable and you will find it so,
I'm feeling now happy with that. I'm able to understand by myself without learning, seeing the tarjuma.
Alhamdulillah, yeah, inshallah. And then we will. Yeah, that's right.
I can get myself.
I remember the last time, like the Sheikh gave us example. For example, he said, God forbid if someone has an accident and he loses his eye and the eye has 1 million, like pieces. And someone told him that take one piece and put it in your eye and your eyesight will come back. And imagine when he is able to put them all together and he is able to see. Learning Quran, learning Arabic is the same. We take rule one by one, it gives us light. We put one by one, it gives us light, and inshallah, one day we will be able to see everything clearly.
Inshallah.
So this example is like so motivating for me that I always, focus on this. And even sometimes we are human beings. Whenever I get tired or I feel demotivated, I make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I always think that this is our obligation, we have to do it. And alhamdulillah, I start again. So we don't need to worry about it.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. May Allah reward you as well, and inshallah I'll see you on Sunday. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam. Jazakallah.